updated geese management report that Scott provided us. And I also want to welcome Marlon Reis, who is the first gentleman of Colorado who has come on as a guest. And we want to talk about possible partnerships and trying to help Scott and his team with the geese management. So, as hopefully all of you have read the report that Scott provided us about 2 or 3 days ago, which thank you very much, Scott, for taking the time and bringing us up to speed, since this has been such a hot topic for all of us. And it's encouraging to know that possibly there will be no culling in 2021. And then also thank you for giving us the parks where this reduction took place. So I don't know if you want to add some more, Scott, or just have Marlon come on and introduce himself. And by the way, Marlon's muted, so if we can.
I will defer to the first gentleman and let him come on. And I did provide you with the report, so I think you are up to speed. There's nothing additional at this time. There might be 1 or 2 little things, but if he'd like to introduce himself and has any questions for me, I feel free to try to answer those.
Okay. Welcome, Marlon.
Thank you guys very much. Before I get into remarks, can everybody hear me? I'm good.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
I'm not the greatest at technology, but Scott, it's wonderful to see you again, and I want to thank you, Madam Chair, Coleman, and members of the Denver Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for having me today. As Frank mentioned, for those of you who I've not yet had the pleasure of meeting in person, my name is Marlon Reis. I'm the first gentleman of Colorado. My partner is Governor Jared Polis. That helps with context. And my reason for joining today is in hopes of opening a productive and open-ended dialogue on the matter of geese management across the city and county of Denver's many beautiful municipal parks. I spoke to Scott, I think it was around 2 weeks ago, and Scott, thank you very much for sending for the information you did. That was immensely helpful. I'd like to say that while I would have liked to see the management of Canada Geese and Denver be carried out in a different way, I also don't think that it's productive to linger in the past, fingers, or lay blame on anyone for decisions that were made. I think everybody is always doing the best that they can with the information that they have. And I think it's important to also underscore that in all forms of civic engagement, I encourage advocates to never stray away from the issue at hand. So I'm strongly against personal attacks, and I really I want to apologize on behalf of the community of advocates if one has victimized or personally attacked. I know that hasn't been the intention. The intention was to work with Denver officials to hopefully reach a mutually agreeable solution. With all that said, I prefer to look forward to how Denver will manage its Canada Geese in the future. My goal really is to be hopeful as first gentleman, as a representative from the state, and that could include any number of things. It could mean organizing a volunteer task force that would be willing to help at no cost to the city, bringing aboard additional wildlife biologists in an advisory capacity, working with state agencies to give Denver tools that might prove useful to ensure that culling does not take place in future years. I think it's important to emphasize that I always actively encourage calm, well-reasoned dialogue to find a solution. So what I'm offering, what I hope is clear, is that I'm offering a partnership fully in the spirit of collaboration. I have no interest in stepping on anybody's toes and trying to steal the limelight. I sort of came into this issue after a year of trying to advise advocates about traditional channels for appealing that Denver has been managing its Canada geese. So in that spirit, I thought I might quote author and poet Cleo Wade, who said, "Don't let the spirit of comparison and competition take you somewhere fast, when the spirit of collaboration can take you someplace far instead." I really believe that. I know I speak for myself as well as my fellow Canada Geese advocates when I say that we are ready to enter into a partnership that will achieve goals for beautiful parks and compassionate conservation of the animals with whom we share those parks. And our goal is to do whatever it takes to ensure that there will be no need for culling of Denver's Canada geese for the remainder of this year, which, as I understand it, it's finished anyway, but for years to come. And I'm confident that by making that commitment, by putting it in writing, that there will be no more culling of Canada geese in the city and county of Denver parks. I think that'll go a long way towards reinforcing trust in City of Denver government officials and in reaffirming for voters, for Denverites, that they have open lines of communication with their representatives, their voices are being heard and taken seriously. So with that, I just want to say I so appreciate the opportunity to address the Denver Parks and Recreation Advisory Board today. I thank you for your time. I'm at your service in whatever way is most helpful. And I'm looking forward to working together to hopefully arrive at an agreement, a mutual agreement to collaborate that will make everyone happy. Thank you for your time.
You. I think Fran, I think I see you speaking, Fran, but you're muted. But thank you for sharing that with us, and we really appreciate the partnership that you're trying to set up.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. What I was trying to say is, Scott, if you want to speak to that or add to this report, I think the important thing that Scott has shared with me and I shared with Marlon yesterday is that the issue of the condition of the meat has been taken very seriously, and that further testing is taking place. And so, Scott, I'll give the agenda over to you.
Yeah, so I truly appreciate it, First Gentleman. We had a great discussion a couple weeks ago, and look forward to seeing how we can partner to continue some of the work that we have been doing in our parks. A lot of the things that we have done are the things that everybody tells us we should do. So we will continue doing that work. I think there are some things that volunteers could really help out on that my staff cannot accomplish, that will really make our parks not as welcoming to the geese as traditionally they've been. And so we are working on those efforts now. I did put in some things that I did not include before, and I will highlight those. Well, at least one of the main things is I did add in there, I did want people to know that They brought up that we should use dogs to haze geese in our parks. We have been using dogs in our parks, in our golf courses, on our golf courses where we do have large populations and challenges. We have 4 golf courses now that actually we have staff that have trained dogs that have the ability to haze the geese and really keep the populations down on the golf courses. So, Julie, our golf courses haven't had a lot of issue. That program, though, is very intensive, and it's something that can't just be done for a week or 2 weeks. It's something that is built into the management of our golf courses. So I did want to highlight that we are doing some of the things that people have said, and even when we had the discussion with your experts, Marlon, they did bring up. I did talk a little bit about dogs and the challenges with using dogs in public parks. That people want to be able to haze the geese with their dogs, but if a goose was killed, it would be a violation of federal law. So we do have to be careful about how we do that, and so that's why we did go with the Gooseinator to haze geese in our public spaces with an option that will not harm the geese per se, but it does haze the geese. So we're using different tactics across the city. And so I think one of the ones that I really am looking forward to trying to engage with the volunteers is the coyote cutouts, because there's a lot of parks that we have where the coyote cutouts work, but they only work if staff or people are moving them around and making the geese not sure where these coyotes are, and that they're not becoming a static piece of the landscape. So volunteers could really, really help us out, because Adam manages City Park. His staff cannot take out, hours in a day to be moving coyote cutout around the park. So volunteers could really, really step up, and we could get coyote cutouts and people can move them around the parks where we're challenged. And that could really, I think, could be a very, very good deterrent to the geese wanting to be here and stay here in Denver. So I think, and some volunteer projects, landscape restorations. So I'm excited about the possibilities. We will continue next year. We will look to, hopefully we're at a point with COVID-19 where we can start interacting and not having to do everything so distant. Train some additional volunteers into egg oiling. And that is going to be a critical piece to not having to cull again in the city and county of Denver. Because if we don't manage that population growth through managing the birth rate of the geese, we're in a losing battle. So that is going to be a critical piece to the success of what we do when we move forward. So I'm going to really push to grow that egg oiling project and really get a lot of volunteers out there to find all the nests and oil all the eggs. And so I'm excited about that. On the meat, at this point, on the meat, because we're working with the USDA and traditional wildlife experts, Colorado Parks and Wildlife. The meat went to a processor, I believe, in the Fort Collins area. And what they tested for was lead, which is a traditional thing that people would test wild game for, especially birds that are waterfowl birds, because they're hunted with lead shot traditionally. So they tested for lead.
Scott, can I stop you there for a minute?
Yes.
We're getting some feedback, so if I can have everybody but Scott mute themselves, let's try that, okay?
Okay. We good? So they were tested for lead, which I believe was fine, but I requested to the USDA Wildlife Services for them to test for pesticides. And so they have identified somewhere else where the meat to be. It's all frozen. They will test for pesticides, because that is the question that we're going to get. And I do want to be transparent, and I want to be able to answer people the questions that they have and be able to give them an accurate answer to their concerns. So it is in the process right now of being tested for pesticides. such as glyphosate, which is going to be the big one that people ask about. So that is where we're at right now. Metro Carrying, who is the largest provider of food for pantries in the city and county of Denver and the region, has reached out to us numerous times, and they are looking forward to receiving the meat once it's deemed safe for consumption.
So I also wanted to add regarding the egg oiling and also meetings, there have been several emails that have come my way where people have complained that they felt like the egg oiling had been aborted too soon, and also that meetings didn't happen. My response has been, because this is the way I understand it, was because of COVID. I mean, the Parks and Rec had to switch in order to make sure that the parks were closed, that playgrounds weren't being used, and so therefore the egg boiling that did happen only happened with park staff that was available. Am I correct on that?
We did have some USDA staff help, and it was park staff that helped. We have never had volunteers help. That was something new that we were going to try to implement to give the Geese Protection Group a chance to really feel that they were being a part of the management efforts. And it did right after the first training, COVID-19 really kicked in. And so we did actually cancel the second training. And like I had mentioned before, we did give them an opportunity to participate in the egg oiling at the end of the process, but they declined due to the fact that they did have more senior aged participants, and a lot of them had pre-existing conditions. So they did not want to come out, and we did not want them to be exposing themselves to any bad situations. So we will, just so you know the numbers, and I don't know if we put the numbers in there. Historically, the last 2 years prior to this year, we've oiled over 2,000 eggs a year. 3,000 eggs a year. This past year, we oiled approximately, I think, 1,200. So the number was way, way down. I think most of the parks we did incredibly well. Had some challenges at Sloan's Lake. It's a huge lake for one thing, and then they have the island there. So sometimes it's challenging to identify all the locations in a space like that. So that will be one lake and one area that we super hard concentrate on, because we did leave approximately 50 to 60 geese in Sloan's because it is so large and it has such a large water area. We will need to work incredibly hard to make sure that we keep the population at that level that we left there.
Are there any, Marlon, did you want to say any more? Or?
I would love to respond, Madam Chair. So I'm very excited to hear everything that you mentioned, Scott. There's sort of embrace of some different approaches, and what I really wanted to add was, in terms of thinking outside the box, I would love to also to help your department to the extent that you would like me to be involved. I would like to help sort of gather together volunteers, and I know that there are numerous college-age kids that would like to get involved who might not have the same concerns about being in proximity or being exposed to COVID. And I do think that's absolutely a valid concern also. And COVID-19 just derailed so many great undertakings that I know the city of Denver was working on. I know elsewhere in Colorado. So that's absolutely that's an opportunity I think that would be wonderful to explore. I absolutely think that that volunteers would also be very happy to to move coyote cutouts around the park and follow your lead and your direction in terms of where they need to be placed to effectively deter geese from congregating. And then, there are a number of options, as I understand it, that may be of interest for you to consider as part of the program. I, not being a biologist and really just sort of being the mouthpiece for the advocates, I would leave it to people more expert than myself to discuss that. But I do understand that landscaping and adjustments to the turf could also be an effective way to make the parks less appealing to the geese. And the last point I'll make too is that I'll make two final points. The first is I love this emphasis on transparency, because in the past year, as I've been receiving messages at the state capitol from people primarily in Denver, but from across the state, I think their complaint primarily was that they just they weren't sure what was happening, when it was happening, how the decision was arrived at, who the various stakeholders were. So, of course, I'm always a proponent of transparency, and I do want to also end on the note that I think Scott, you might have. I've heard that you had mentioned that you believe that culling will be unnecessary next year due to measures taken last year and this year. And what I'm hearing from advocates is that they would, first of all, they love that. Second, they would love for it to become a matter of public record, to be put in writing somewhere, or to be included as part of an official plan, of course with whatever qualifications are necessary within reason. But I know that would go a long way towards appeasing and working with advocates who are hoping for a sign that they won't need to worry about this again next year.
So, I believe we did actually highlight that in the document that we sent out, and we have posted online that we believe that we will not have to cull next year because we have reached levels that we set out in our original documents, and we have reached those goals. So we do not feel like we will need to cull, and I believe that is online already, and I believe it's in the document that we provided to you, First Gentleman. So, and that's public record. So, like I said, we've always put stuff online, and I've tried to be as transparent as possible. If people want to know about the goose management program, all they've got to do is go online and click, and we try to give updates, and we give numbers and where we're at on the plan. But I believe that statement is in the document that we posted online.
Well, and I appreciate that. I think I know the statement that you're referring to, Scott, and I do absolutely appreciate the inclusion of that statement. And I think the concern on the part of advocates that I've spoken with is just that wiggle room between I believe that we won't have to cull, and then an actual commitment not to cull. So, I know it's linguistics, or not linguistics, it's semantics, but I think that is something that you guys perhaps can consider, using language that makes it a bit more clear that you'll be employing other methods that don't include culling as part of your management plan. And again, I'm speaking as an ambassador for the advocates I've been in touch with, and so I'm passing along what they would like to see to make them feel better about Denver Parks and Recreation's plan.
And I'm going to weigh in here. I totally understand where you're coming from, Marlon, and I also understand Scott's position. I believe with the partnership that we have great opportunity to use the volunteer partnership, and just what I'm suggesting is that we create a committee that starts now with Scott and Marlon heading that up, and just bringing the teams together on trying to come up with solutions where we start having teams that help plant the vegetation that needs to be planted, have an egg oiling team ready to go for next spring, and continue to evaluate the overall ecology of all of the different species. Because as I shared with Marlon yesterday, I live near Harvey Park, and Harvey Park, of course, was one of the parks where geese were culled. And the one thing I have noticed for the last week and a half since this happened, is that basically Harvey Park is very quiet. There are no species whatsoever, not even the red-winged blackbird that was often very prevalent in my park. And so it's that kind of ecology balance that we need to move toward. And so, I think with the partnership, I think we're going to be able to do more of that along with the advocates and all of the volunteers. So I know you want a more solid statement from Scott, but I think they're at a point where, they're trying to do this scientifically and I can't get out the word, but you know what I mean, a biology balance. And so is that fair for us to leave it there?
And first, gentlemen, I want you to know, and I mentioned this before, my goal is not to cull geese at all in the city and county of Denver. This is not something I enjoy. I don't enjoy the petitions and the threats and the accusations and all the things. It's not a very fun part of my job. And so my goal is never to cull again. I cannot just make a blanket statement, though, that just says we will not cull in the city and county of Denver again. I just can't. And as a biologist, as someone that has worked for the Division of Wildlife for close to 2 decades, we based our management plan on the state management plan, and culling of geese is a viable option as part of the state management plan. So I am saying that we will not cull next year, and I put that in our document. But I also can't just blanket make a statement that I know that maybe one day the city might have to do it again. I'm not going to lie to people, and I've told you this before. I try to be as honest and transparent as possible, and I'm not going to sit. So the easy thing would be to say, "Oh, I'm not going to do that anymore," and then everybody would leave me alone. But I would feel ingenuous, and I would feel like I'm lying to the public. So I have said that we do not believe that we will cull next year, and we won't cull next year because we feel that we're at the population numbers, and we're going to do the work to keep it there. But I also can't make a statement that I know might change in the future. So hopefully you understand that. I mean,
absolutely. I do understand, Scott, and it's the nature of working in government that you have to leave doors open and be able to. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, we're able to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know it's the nature of governance that we don't deal with absolutes, and that there is necessity to leave doors open for whatever the eventuality might be. And I'm very much looking forward, as Madam Chair Coleman suggested, working with you, Scott, in whatever way I can be helpful to you, and try to just do all of the work necessary to make it so that culling is unnecessary, and we're able to rely on a multi-pronged approach that it will move us in that direction. And I did want to make one point of clarification also. The state issued guidance on management of Canada geese is more of a menu of options, and it does include culling as an option. It also includes a number of other options, and so I just want to clarify that it is a menu of options that are selected. Municipalities select which option they believe is the best one for them, and so I do want to clarify that. But of course, Scott, any way that I could be helpful, I really would like everyone to get along here and work together. And I think that I can help your department, and I can help you by getting volunteers together and getting people out there oiling the number of eggs that need to be oiled, moving the coyote cutouts, and whatever else you deem necessary to take us in the opposite direction of culling.
And so, first, gentlemen, what I'm going to do is, thank you for everything, and thank you for your participation in this and your advocacy. I will reach out to you separately from the group, and I will work with you and your team with our volunteer coordinator, our program manager. What we can do is start setting up these groups. So people, if they want to do coyote cutout, because there's individuals that will not do egg oiling because it is considered lethal. But so what we can do is start bringing up these groups and starting to bring them together and start preparing them for, to be honest, to get going basically in September, October, because we will start to get migratory birds moving in those months. And the more work we can do over the winter makes it easier for us in the spring. So we've got some work to do, but I think you're up to the challenge. I'm up to the challenge. So let's just get together offline, and I will send an email to your team, and we can make some good things happen.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Scott. I'm looking forward to working together and hopefully being helpful to you and to the department, and coming up with some good solutions.
Right. And so
offline.
Let me give Lee and Jack a chance to say something, since they're part of the subcommittee. And then at that point, if you need to sign off, you can. Thank you so much, both of you. I really appreciate it. Lee?
I really appreciate your partnership. I think this is the good step moving forward to involve everybody who is an advocate on behalf of the Geese to figure things out. So I thank you, Scott, too. Thank you, everybody, for putting this together. And moving forward, I think that the communication between all these groups will be better. And I appreciate kind of an intermediary to help resolve some of the issues that are here, and help the community be heard in different ways, and also help the department manage the volunteers, the amount of volunteers that might be needed. So just a big thank you, and I appreciate you taking the time to help us address this issue. As we mentioned before, this is a bigger issue than this little subcommittee. So I think it's important that we can share that at the PRAB too, that we're moving towards a more community involved model. So thank you.
Can I step in? This is Doug. I think one thing that hopefully we can do out of this too with the partnership for the Goose advocates, I think really tone down the rhetoric. I think the threats don't really help the situation. So if there's any way that we can, as partners, work towards being partners and working together and not making personal threats on Scott or other members of staff, that's so I think that would be really helpful too.
Or volunteers. Doug, thank you for that comment. And Marlon, you and I talked about that yesterday, about how toxic it had become, and I truly appreciate your commitment to communicate that back. And like I told you yesterday, it warms my heart that we're finally moving towards a solution that's a win-win on all sides, and that this is an important issue, but there are a lot of other issues. The whole wildlife spectrum, because it is different predators depend on others, and so and also the ecology balance to our parks. So I'm really excited about both Scott and Marlon and where you both are, and I finally feel hopeful because the emails that have come at us and some of the misinformation has been really difficult at times to deal with, but we've marched on, and today I am feeling very, very hopeful. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to all of the members. I'll let you know too, Fran, as soon as we finished speaking yesterday, I got in touch with the people that I speak with that are parts of those groups, and I said it is not okay to make personal attacks or attack the methodologies without being open-minded and sitting down and talking. And the way these things get solved is through calm, reasonable dialogue. And I'm going to continue to put that message out and make sure that you guys don't get attacked, because I think that's wrong and you shouldn't have to deal with that. And I think I can only imagine that it was in the heat of the moment and people didn't know what to do. And going forward in this partnership will put everyone in a much better mood and a better place to talk productively. And you guys can count on me to be that intermediary and any other in any other capacity I can be helpful.
Thank you so very much. It's been a real pleasure to have you on. Thank you.
I want to tell everybody something real quick. It's not Goose, but as you can see, Doug Woods is on here, and he's in his he's on the beach. He's preparing to retire after 30 plus years of working in our parks department, and he's done a phenomenal job. He manages all of our parks, and he is the reason why we have such beautiful park spaces in our city. And I cannot. He's the lead of the team that makes sure that we have beautiful parks in our city. And I just want to personally thank Doug for his commitment and his drive to make sure that we have one of the best park departments in the country. So thank you, Doug. I appreciate it.
Ditto.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. But
enjoy that beach.
Yeah.
And he's going to invite us to his retirement. No.
Well deserved.
Well, it helps to have a good leader.
Always.
So thank you, everyone. We're ready to move on, unless if there's questions or more comments.
I will say goodbye to all of you and wish you all a wonderful weekend. And
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward, Scott. I'll look out for a note from you, and we'll move forward from there.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, you all.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Great. Bye-bye.
Bye. And thank you, Doug and Adam. So we're ready to move on to the next topic, which was the first topic on the agenda, pesticides. So do you want to take over?
Adam's going to lead this one.
Okay.
I'll help out if I need to.
Yep,
And
no,
I'll mute myself.
very good. Hi,
I'm gonna have to
everyone.
get off. I trust Adam and Doug will get you guys all the information you need. Just so I can let everybody know, Fran and Lee, that this is another one of those ones that you get those emails and the accusations and all the things. We have been incredibly transparent with this one too. We have put all of our information on the website. Adam has done an amazing job of pulling together our integrated pest management program, and it's very broad because we have forestry, we have natural resources, we have our traditional parks, we have athletics, and so Adam has had to bring all those teams together to make sure that we are addressing all those concerns in one succinct document. So Adam has done a great job in that, and I appreciate all your work on that, Adam. And all that information is posted on the website, including all the pesticides we use and what we use them for. That sometimes can cause issues, but we have wanted to be transparent and show people that to manage a parks department like this, there is the need to use pesticides and herbicides to take care of our park system. So I am going to let Adam and Dougie Fresh take the lead on this. And thank you guys for everything. And if you need anything from me, you know, you all have my phone number.
Right on. Thanks, Scott. We appreciate you. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.